Okay, because I don't think many people of our audience would know what a picker is.
A picker is someone that has an eye for collectibles and antiques, and usually they buy for other dealers. They don't try to sell it themselves. They have a dealer in mind. Like I know someone that would take every cigar related item that I could find, someone that would take every Indian basket that I could find, someone that would take every period piece of, you know, and we have that list, and so we buy at a decent price, and then we make a little money and hopefully leave them room to make some money on their end. There's actually articles that have been written that sometimes an antique will go through 8 to 10 dealers before it ever winds up into someone's home.
Which is true, yeah. And I don't know how many people out there are familiar with pickers, but I think if you talk to almost any dealer, they will tell you that they tend to, especially in the summertime, or in the wintertime, be the backbone for the business, because you can only see so many houses. You can only poke around in other stores. You know, there's only so many hours in the day, and that the pickers are out there digging through everything, trying to find a special item that is going to appeal to
exactly. And Bill and I have actually trained people to pick for us. We have given them books. We have taught them what we need and what we buy and what we're willing to pay.
Now, how far spread do you have pickers?
Most of the folks that I deal with are fairly local. They'll come in on like a Saturday morning with a box full of odds and ends that they've come across, and you know, we'll negotiate with them. And what we try to do here is, because the field is so widespread and the knowledge base is so vast, if I don't know exactly what something's worth, we'll offer to hold it until someone who comes in that does know more about it can give us some help. That's one of the beauties of a large shop like this, is there's over 100 people who have expert knowledge in specific areas that we can call on anytime we need to.
That's an excellent point.
So we basically have a go-to person for any given category.
Hey Bill, I was walking around, came across this table. Definitely late 1700s. Beautiful mahogany. I would say probably what's known as like the Federal or Classical period. Goes by a couple different names. Let's see here. What I want to do is I'm going to tip the table over. You can already see the grain on the top here. What I'm going to do is tip it back, and we're going to take a look at some of the construction elements that help date the table. Now, first of all, like I said, I mentioned the mahogany. Mahogany was imported wood. Odds are it could have been made in maybe Boston or New York. It's definitely a very formal-looking piece of furniture, so it was made for an upscale client. If you look here, we have what's known as a Sheraton drawer pull. I'm going to pull it out. Look inside here. These screws were hand-cut, actually, or they had a little threading device, but they were generally cut by hand. We look at the secondary wood here is pine. You can see that has nice oxidation to it, definitely original. The pine is also an indication that is most likely New England. If you look at the bottom here, let's see here, we have it's actually a single board of pine, has a chamfered edges, okay, which were done by hand. They planed them like that. You can still see some of the original mill marks on this, and beautiful mahogany veneer in here. You know, it has a little bit of damage, you know, again, to be expected on something that's a couple hundred years old. Then you have a really pretty nicely turned base here, display legs. What's interesting about this is it's a combination of elements. You know, if we're talking late 1700s, you have the Sheraton influence, a little neoclassical influence, but no inlay like Hepplewhite or Sheraton, which is unusual. And then the legs, this is a really new development at the time. Duncan Phyfe, actually the only furniture designer, actually lived in America. You know, Chippendale Hepplewhite, Sheraton, they all had their own periods, but they actually never came to the colonies or the States. Duncan Fife was the first. He may get some kudos for this shape of leg. So let's flip it back up. What we have here is American made. We talked about the different influences, which really starts to take shape from 1790 on. The reason being is, like I mentioned, that Chippendale, Hepplewhite, and Sheraton lived in England, never came to the United States. But they had their shops and they were set up there for quite a while. Well, as people started to explore across the ocean and come to the colonies, people would leave those shops and come to the States and either open up their own shops. Maybe they were highly skilled craftsmen. All of them were very, very skilled. But the highest skilled ones, the ones that were able to save a little bit of money or already had some relatives here, were able to come and set up the prominent shops of, say, Salem, Massachusetts, the Boston area, New York City, Philadelphia, Connecticut. All these people came from England. And with them, they brought the styles established by these cabinet maker grades. So we have a lot of those influences in here. And then we have what's called embellishments, okay? All embellishments are really, is coming up with a new interpretation of something. And that's what you see in this leg here. This is a nice mark of a changing tide in furniture designs and styles.